Continuing to read from A Mountain in Tibet from page 238. Chapter 15. More work to do. I did not expect that my life would turn out as it has. At no stage, as I moved from Tibet to India, to Scotland, to the States, and back to Scotland again, could I have predicted what was coming next. I certainly did not imagine in Dolmalakan or in the refugee camps of India that I would be so happy, so peaceful and joyful. I feel lucky. Being grateful is the basis of much of my happiness. Seeing things flexibly is another important element. Letting go of the conviction that life must be a certain way and accepting the way it actually is in the here and now has helped me. Learning to relinquish my attachments to outcomes, to let go of my desires, and purify my negative mind states has all been beneficial. The engine for all this change has been my practice of meditation, and it has served me well. It has enabled me to help others to move toward a state of peace, calm, and joy. Not long ago I turned 75. People at Samiling were kind enough to organize a party. To show their appreciation of my commitment to them and their commitment to me, they offered me several sets of monks' robes. These I offered to others. Some people also said very generous things about my role in the ongoing success of Samiling. I do not want to claim credit for anything, since without the devoted efforts of so many hundreds of people, especially Akon, we would not have enjoyed the successes we have had. I believe that any positive impact in the world is the result of devotion, hard work, and the right motivation. And it makes me so happy to see that Samiling and the wider Rakpa organization of which it is a part are moving in a profoundly positive direction. I'm still amazed sometimes as I walk in the Peace Gardens or spot the beautiful golden spire of the Victory Stupa, radiating positive energy far and wide. To think that all this has been brought into existence in this unlikely place for the benefit of every sentient being. It's a long time since I sulked in Johnson House, furious with the drab, cold world I found myself in, railing against the smelly hippies and my brother Akon for bringing me here. Now Samiling is known around the world as a place of retreat, learning, and faith. My part in this great team effort has been small, but I hope it's been useful. I've always tried to understand what people need, to listen to what they tell me, and think flexibly in order to find ways for them to access the unparalleled wisdom of the Dharma. This has often meant being something of a father figure, a giver of advice, and setter of boundaries. The word guru is a very loaded term in English, and it doesn't sit that comfortably with me, because it carries connotations of someone who is high and mighty. I prefer a more straightforward approach. I see myself as someone who has been through a lot in his life, and I can offer people the wisdom that comes directly from my own experience. Part of my job as a teacher has been to point out the issues and flaws within my students, which they cannot see or do not want to see. Some of my students used to call me a truth doctor, because I wanted to tell them the truth and not beat around the bush. But another very important part of being a teacher is to point out the hidden jewel of our wisdom to us, our Buddha nature, which many people are unwilling to own because they see themselves as limited and small. This has been a crucial part of my role, to empower people. Our teacher is the person who believes in us when we can't yet believe in ourselves. In my own life, this has above all been His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. I aspire to be for others as he has been to me, despite the fact I lack so many of his great qualities. I was asked a couple of years ago to write some words for a friend's wedding. I started to write a tongue-in-cheek take on Christianity's 10 Commandments. Calling it the 10 Commandments for a Happy Marriage. I was pleased to find that it raised a smile. Admittedly, I've never been married, and all my romantic relationships back in the day were built around the needs of my ego. So I might seem an unlikely person to give relationship advice. But I've spent many years in the lab of the mind, talking to people from every walk of life, and I have observed a great deal and learned a little. Now I'm turning the 10 Commandments into a guide for my married students. My first precept is to stop looking for faults in the other person. The second is to be mindful of the other's good qualities. Love is nourished by focusing on the positive and not dwelling on the negative, especially resentment. The third is to refrain from imposing your own ideas on the other. The fourth is to respect them at all times. The fifth is to live by the 5 golden rules. The sixth is to always bring awareness to how you think. What you say, and what you do. And make sure it is not hurtful, harmful, or selfish. Number 7 is to look beyond your partnership and engage in your community. Number 8 is to always take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Number 9 is to make these principles an active part of your life through meditating on them. They're no use if you don't apply them. And finally, number 10 is to truly engage in the practice of unconditional compassion. Loving kindness and forgiveness. If both people in the partnership do this, then they will have a fulfilling life together. Continuing with Lama Yeshe Losal Rinpoche's book, From a Mountain in Tibet, from page 238.
Well, it's good when all these students come to Lama Yeshe with all their problems, and Lama Yeshe has been through a lot of it himself, so just the right person to help them because he's been through a lot of it himself. So it was just the right person for the job.
He can understand where people are.
He understands where they're coming from.
Yes.
Yes. That's good. So being at Samuel Lennon, so it's a lot of people, so he'd be very, very busy with these interviews, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And wherever he goes, people will have questions to ask him and want to share their story so they can have guidance.
That's correct. So, as it says, there's lots of work to do. And that's not the end of it. There will be more coming all the time.
That's right.
Yes.
So he's continuously taking things that he's learned along the way.
That's correct, yes.
And trying to find what's universal, which could apply to people of all sorts of walks of life and from all different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And he's trying to address all the different types of people that would ever have questions for him.
Yeah.
When he formulates his suggestions and his thoughts and his guidance.
Yeah. There's all sorts of different people with different mindsets, so you got to use the right words to talk to them and tell them, you know.
Yes.
So you've got to think about all that.
That's the skillful means aspect, isn't it? The skillful means of knowing how to communicate effectively.
Yeah, a good start is just to sit and listen, let people talk, you know. Let them talk. And then usually some people when they're talking, they're answering their own questions.
Yes.
You know? That happens, you know.
Yes.
But if they're not and they're lost, well, they've got Lama Yeshe.
Yes.
Right.
And he's perfected the listening art and the giving guidance.
Yeah.
And imposing enough structure for people that need structure.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's what a person is looking for, is some rules or some guidance or some framework to follow.
That's right.
And he's providing that in this book, so it's for those people who have met him and those people who meet him through his book. He's giving something for everyone.
Yeah.
Something that will be helpful if we can apply it.
Yes. So when Lama Katan takes over, he's going to have a lot to take on.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe Lama Yeshe cleared the worst away from him. You never know. We'll see. See what happens.
Things keep developing, don't they? Yeah. Built on a very strong foundation.
Yeah. Yeah. if everybody's not had the same type of experience as Lama had, then it would be more difficult for them to answer sort of questions out, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. You need to have some experience behind you for that.
To have lived life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
To seeing all sorts of situations.
Yeah.
So we're grateful to Lama Yeshe Rinpoche for turning his mind to topics that will assist everyone.
Yeah.
He's thinking not only of the monks and nuns, but he's thinking of all the people that are trying to work out a life in partnership with someone else, which has its own challenges and obstacles and also delights. And he's turning his mind to that. So we can't think, well, he's only speaking to one group of people. He's being inclusive and meeting all sorts of people who are defining their lives either as individuals, as lay, as sangha, all the different ways in which people organize themselves, and all the different journeys and paths that the spiritual path can involve.
Yeah. So besides people coming to the Lama Yeshe with problems, surely we were wanting to come to ask Dharma questions and practice questions to help them in their practice.
Yes.
That's what's really wanted.
Yes.
You know.
Well, if you look at this thing that he just said, the 10 commandments for the people that are in committed relationships to each other, that he has a lot of things that are based on the Dharma in that group of 10.
Yeah, well,
he's talking about a reliance on the Dharma.
Well, we've got the 10 wholesome actions.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So there's similarities.
And the 5 golden rules, which also ensure that we are following the 10 wholesome actions.
Yeah.
And turning away from the 10 unwholesome actions.
Yes.
So it all will lead us to asking the Dharma questions that you're talking about, because the spiritual path and the Dharma is integrated into these 10 rules that he's talking about, or these 10 guidances.
Yeah. There's all sorts of groupings in Gampopa's book, 10 of this and 10 of that, you know.
Yes.
There's lots of those grouping.
It's a familiar way in which Tibetan masters can teach.
Yeah.
It's very specific, and it reaches into us and our hearts, and is very much personally applicable, and at the same time it can help to have groupings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Ah, ah, ah.